Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have a great guest on. And I really enjoyed all the conversation that her and I have been having before we came on live. I mean, I think a lot of great insight of just journeying through being an entrepreneur, plus being in the bookkeeper accounting space, which, as all of you know, I mean, that's my background, and I think that having a solid grasp of the numbers in your business is a vital thing to being successful in business. So I am excited to welcome Kate Johnson on. Welcome to the show, Kate.
So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we jump into talking about your bookkeeper business and the awesome bookkeeper community that you've developed, tell us a little bit about your background and just kind of what led up to starting those.
Sure, I'll try to keep it short. I never anticipated that I would be doing accounting and bookkeeping. I studied economics in undergrad at Baylor a long time ago, and I was actually kind of like proud of the fact that I wasn't a business major. I was in the arts and sciences school. I thought economics was just like more thoughtful. I don't know. But I had to have a couple of business classes as a part of, well, before I declared my major, I guess. So I was familiar with accounting, but never thought I would do anything with it. After college, I did something completely unrelated. I was a AmeriCorps volunteer for a while, but then I went to business school, like real business school, and had some accounting classes there too. I went to the Yale School of Management, and I went into the corporate world for a while. But I married a guy who was in the military through all that, and that just presented unique challenges for me in my career, and just kind of how we dreamt of what our marriage would look like and what our family would look like. So I actually I did not work for, I think it was 5 or 6 years. And that was a blessing. I struggled with it some days, but looking back, I know that it was a real blessing for my family. So then my youngest child was about a year out from when he would be getting to go to preschool. And my kids just went like a couple mornings a week because I was at home with them. So it was not like it was really needed for childcare. But I wanted to be a good steward of that time that I was looking at having a few months down the road. And so I was I was really devastated whenever I had to quit my last job. It was just emotionally hard for me because I felt so out of control. It was in California, and then the Navy said we were moving to Virginia, and it was really unexpected. And I just left me with a bad taste in my mouth, and I was like, I don't want to feel that again. So I tried to figure out I was kind of applying to jobs, but my heart wasn't in it. And I thought maybe what I really need to do is something on my own. And that would allow me to kind of scale slowly as well, while as my kids are getting older. That was about 3 years ago now. And so I set out on a journey to relearn accounting and learn it well, and learn it from a small business side. You don't really get taught small business accounting in school. At least I don't feel like I did. I was I served pretty small businesses, and my training, any class I took was talking about, huge companies. So I think there's a very different flavor there. I had to learn bookkeeping software, but I set about a several month journey of like learning, and I'm a morning person, thankfully. So some of the days it was just like, 5 to like 7 in the morning. I was by myself while everyone else was still asleep, learning what I could. But then my time grew, that I had to work, and I have, many clients now. I kind of am picky because my husband has a good job. But my business has grown kind of that way as my time has expanded, and now all my kids are in school. Thankfully, their school has still been open during COVID. It's only a half day school, so I have 5 mornings a week that I'm able to work now. And that's kind of my story of Heritage Business Services is the name of my company, because I wanted this concept of leaving a legacy, and I wanted to work with entrepreneurs whose main goal was to leave a legacy in all sorts of ways. So that's my business story. I think I started officially in July 2017.
Okay. Nice, nice. There's several things I absolutely love about the story. I think, being the son of a retired army medic, I mean, living that story of, I don't think many people understand like what it's like when your life has to move with that job, because everything that you did before, it's just you go where the military tells you to go. And I mean, I think that there's definitely a lot to that for you. I mean, leaving the job and moving the family. And I think it is amazing though that, like I said, you were able to find the value in that when you, like I said, when you look back on that time of, not working and being there for your family. That's amazing.
Well, thanks for that. I hope I'm blessed with the long life, and I kind of am an old soul, and I'm able, when I'm not in sort of like emotional pity parties, I'm able to say like so 6 years of not working is a drop in the bucket in how long I'm hoping to live and be serving people on this, while I'm alive. So it can feel tough, in the moment sometimes, but I try to keep a little bit more bird's eye view about life. And it was great. And now my kids are 9, 7, and 6, and uh, I sometimes wish I could go back. So.
And my mother says that from time to time. Like I said, when we moved a lot, she decided to be a stay-at-home mom and really focus on enjoying that journey of, like I said, raising the children, because like I said, with that moving around. So yeah, she looks back on it now and says she definitely wouldn't trade it, years later, where I'm the youngest and I'm 35, and she looks back on it and says, hey, looking back on it, she wouldn't trade it.
Yeah.
Awesome. There was something else that you pointed out that I thought was awesome too. I mean, with it, having gone through, undergraduate, I took pretty much just about every accounting class that they had in my undergrad, and then I got a master's degree in accounting. And it's so true that most accounting programs do not teach you accounting from the small businesses perspective. It's
Right.
all the big businesses, and I think that the small businesses tend to have a little more of a I guess a different look and outlook on things. So what have been some of the things that you found from, like I said, the big business teaching of accounting, and kind of what have you seen like with working with small business?
Huh. Um, so I guess my impression was, I guess when I was being taught it as a student, the nuts and bolts and the like, who is actually like accounting for like every single penny, which kind of really needs to happen. Like someone's got to do all that. That's the part that is different. So I think it's a lot more. I'm finding there's a lot more administrative burden than that then allows you to get to the part where you can start to apply the more conceptual accounting knowledge. And so I have had to learn to work on like the processes to make my job. I mean, I do the bookkeeping too, as well as advising my clients. And so I kind of do it all. And I want that administrative side to be as efficient as possible. So I'm finding myself learning less about like accounting and more about just like troubleshooting administrative tasks with the different, everything. I work exclusively in the cloud, so there's so many resources that will allow you to just memorize stuff or rules, different apps you can buy. I mean, and that's like kind of not accounting, and that's like beating your head on the computer sometimes because you're frustrated because what you're trying to do isn't working, and it's not like, doesn't have anything to do with T accounts. So for me, with this, as I have approached my job, it's finding out how to really serve from, when that business owner goes and spend $100 on something, like how do we make sure that that gets accounted for properly? And it's kind of not glamorous, but they need it. Otherwise their books are a mess and they can't they don't know the story of their business. And yeah, so just my impression is that the tackling the nitty gritty stuff has been something I've had to learn, and it's been fun. Like I have found that there's always someone, as my network in the accounting world has grown, there's always Are we
I can
back?
always yeah,
I don't know.
I can always edit that out.
Sure, I don't know what happened. There's always someone who knows a solution to a problem, and so that's been just so fun. Like, how do I, how do I get a report to generate automatically? Something like people will have an answer for that, and it's been fun to learn. I have definitely sought out like community as a sort of a solopreneur, because I was definitely created to like be around people and work with people, and so I've gotten that in a different way than being in an office.
Now, speaking of community, you've also done a great job of, like I said, helping create a community around, bookkeeping. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, happy to. Yeah, so I run the bookkeeping side hustle community. It's mostly managed kind of out of a Facebook group. That's where the magic happens. That's how I describe it. And it's, I think, the best place for best, nicest Facebook group for accountants out there right now. I put a lot of effort into making sure that it really is a helpful community, especially for people who are wanting to get started. Sometimes I can get frustrated with the big shot accounting types who forget that no one is born knowing the 3 financial statements and how they communicate with each other, and no one is born knowing T accounts. I mean, like, it's a skill that can be learned, and we all didn't know it. So I try to make sure people who are, as long as they know that it's a long journey and accounting takes a long time to learn, come and learn it with me. The genesis of the group, though, was I'm really into personal finance, and I was in a personal finance group, and lots of people in personal finance groups are trying to figure out how to increase their income. And I answered a question one time, like, yeah, I'm slowly starting. I think it was probably by like a stay-at-home mom, like, well, I'd like to make some money for my family. And I'm like, well, I do virtual bookkeeping. It sounds like you have I think she had described that she had some background or a degree in accounting or finance or something like that. And I said, I've learned how to do virtual bookkeeping. And then people went like crazy, like, what? Tell me how to do this. And I just created a small little group to answer a handful of people's questions. And now there's like 12,000 people in it. I guess it's probably been around about 2.5, 3 years. And I mean, I don't market it or anything like that. People just come because they know that it's a good place to learn how to get started serving small businesses and building a virtual bookkeeping career and accounting career. That's what we do. So I love it.
I think there's a huge need for that, because it's one of those things where I was talking to someone, about like accounting, and like I said, my background started with, the big four accounting and working for the mega size companies. But when you really think about it, I mean, there's almost half of the people in the country in the US work for a small business, which tells me like there are a ton of small businesses out there, and which means there's a lot of work for bookkeepers to be able to provide value to these small businesses. Now,
Yeah.
I guess for the people who join the community, now I guess what have been some of the stories you've heard from people who join the community, and like the benefits they've seen of being a part of the community?
Probably like just general encouragement. No matter where you are, like even if you've never had an accounting class, like accounting is hard, and everyone, like when you were in that freshman accounting class, like there was a day when you were like, even though you loved accounting, it was like, man, how do I unwind this? Like, this is hard stuff. And so I'm able to encourage those people. I'm able to encourage, and not just me. I mean, the group is sort of like self-encouraging. But then there's someone who's accounting degree, CPA, maybe they have their EA, stuff like that. And they are in a job that's making them miserable, and their boss is horrible, and they hate busy season, and they're not paid enough, and they're smarter than their boss. And they're like, how do I gotta do something else. And well, they're fortunate. They're many steps ahead from that person who doesn't know any accounting at all. But they just might not know how to set out on their own, or they might have been told that, they might have never had anyone tell them that they could do it on their own. With the, and probably 10 years ago, I would say that for that average person who does love accounting, it would have been hard, but now there's just no reason not to. With the technology, you can serve clients all over the country. I have clients in many states. Like, you don't have to put up a shingle outside and rent an office and all of that. So the startup costs are really low, and so just kind of helping people walk through those steps. I think that's where people get the feedback from my group is just mostly like, thank you for your advice. That's what I bring.
Awesome. Now, speaking of your services, so if people are interested in getting in contact with you and doing business with you, where can they find you online or on social media? What names do they search for?
So my company is Heritage Business Services, and I'm at heritagebusinessservices.com if you need accounting or bookkeeping help. But if you want to learn how to start a virtual bookkeeping career, especially if you want to do it kind of in a not typical 9-to-5 type hours, bookkeepingsidehustle.com is where you'd be able to find sort of all my resources. There's a big link at the top that will allow you to join the Facebook group too. And I highly suggest that's maintained a whole lot more than the actual website, but it's just easier to find bookkeepingsidehustle.com and then navigate to the Facebook group. I have a guidebook that I have written that people can get. I'm on LinkedIn. Kate Josephine Johnson, I think, is my name there. I think my maiden name might be in parentheses. But yeah, I'm inside my Facebook group or on LinkedIn, or come to my website if you need accounting help.
Awesome. And one of the things we were talking about before, like I said, we came on to the interview, was we were talking about just, entrepreneurship in general and just kind of that journey of business ownership. So I'm very curious, based on, your background, your experiences, what's 2 pieces of advice that you would share with other business owners?
All right. Well, I think this is true even if you're like a total introvert. Don't do it alone. Whether you're starting an accounting business, and serving, doing bookkeeping, or maybe doing fractional CFO type work, you got to have some sort of friends, your business BFF, whatever you want to call it, a mastermind group. I meet with a group of ladies on every other Thursday night. None of them are in the accounting space. We have 4 very different industries, but it's like I crave that. Like, I'm dying for the next Thursday to get here because I need to be able to talk about business with someone. Your spouse is only going to be so interested or helpful, even if you have the best marriage in the world. Like, there's just something about talking to another business owner. So I think that's another thing the bookkeeping side hustle community provides, is kind of that connection to people who are experiencing the same things you're experiencing, the highs and lows, the crying that you're going to probably feel like doing, the being told no, more times than you've been used to. All that is just hard to deal with on your own. So find some person or a handful to be that support group, or I just think you're not going to make it, and it's not going to be, you won't have the chops to go the distance. And then I work on the small business side, and I'm a small business myself. So I think you really need to be able to keep learning new skills. I've learned how to make videos this year. I've learned how to get better at social media. I listened to the Cloud Accounting podcast just yesterday, and they talked about how, TikTok is coming up. I'm not on TikTok right now, but it just made me think, they were saying use TikTok to debunk bad tax advice, and that might allow you to connect with, a group of people that could become clients. So just learning new skills is the next thing I would say. Don't be afraid to do that, because accounting people can kind of get too stuck in accounting, and I think you got to kind of get your head up and look around at other, because you're going to need to learn a lot more skills than that if you're going to be successful as an accounting business owner.
Absolutely. As you were saying that, I was laughing because, I was on a call with a couple of marketers, and it happens often. Like as I have different people on the show, and I tell them, they ask me about, kind of how's your show been doing, and I was like, well, I started the show back in April of 2020, and I was like, in 2020 we released 201 episodes, and they're
Oh,
always like,
wow.
my goodness, like they're like, we usually don't expect that from accountants. And I'm just like, I guess, like I said, that I wholeheartedly believe in that. Yeah, that if you're starting to get out of your comfort zone and do something new, because it was a completely new skill. Video editing, being on camera or podcasting wasn't something that I grew up doing. So I completely agree with that. So
Yeah.
definitely, Kate, thank you so much for coming on. Really enjoyed having the conversation with you. Definitely learning. I love hearing more about, the community that you're building and the great work that you're doing. I think to really help people understand that, there is a community for them. They're not doing this alone, and really appreciate all that you're doing. So thanks for coming on the show.
I'm so glad to be here. Keep being a good, encouraging factor in the accounting community. You're bringing like a bright light, especially after last year, which was pretty hard for the accounting community and just all the ways that we're having to serve and never-ending tax season and all that. So we need joy and smiles, which you always seem to bring. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense.
I think this is true even if you're like a total introvert. Don't do it alone. If you, whether you're starting an accounting business, and serving, doing bookkeeping, or maybe doing fractional CFO type work, you got to have some sort of friends, your business BFF, whatever you want to call it. A mastermind group. I meet with a group of ladies on every other Thursday night. None of them are in the accounting space. We have 4 very different industries, but it's like I crave that. Like I'm dying for the next Thursday to get here because I need to be able to talk about business with someone. Your spouse is only going to be so interested or helpful, even if you have the best marriage in the world. Like there's just something about talking to another business owner. So I think that's another thing the bookkeeping side hustle community provides, is kind of that connection to people who are experiencing the same things you're experiencing, the highs and lows, the crying that you're going to probably feel like doing, the being told no, more times than you've been used to. All that is just hard to deal with on your own. So find some person or a handful to be that support group, or I just think you're not going to make it, and it's not going to be, you won't have the chops to go the distance. And then
to watch the rest of the episode, go ahead and click the link in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so we can let you know the next time an amazing episode comes up. And if you love what we're doing at the Business Talk Library, consider leaving us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. It gives us more visibility and allows us to get this podcast to more amazing people.